And did you have a good time down there, Tim?
Yeah, we had a good time down there.
Pull that a little closer, Tim. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a good time down there. We had seen a lot of different booths on soil conservation, water conservation stuff, and sat in some meetings about cover crops and how the business is really run.
So Tim and his wife, Carrie,
Carrie.
were down at the convention, and I think I scared her off talking to her about potentially becoming an SWCD supervisor. It's only one meeting a month. But she couldn't make it today. She was busy taking care and getting ready for the holidays, which we understand. But send her our regards, or maybe she's listening right now. Hi, Carrie.
I'm sure she's listening, yes. I'm sure she is.
I'm curious, the field of conservation, Tim, because I'm sure when your mom and dad started farming and you were a little bambino, farming was done a lot different back in that day, wasn't it?
Yeah, farming was a little different back then. Most of the time it was, pretty much a mobile or pawl and cultivator and disc, and you just did it like everybody else did it.
Right.
And now it's changed. I mean, as I got into farming, and it's changed to more chisel plowing, and now when two other boys are starting to take over things there on the rest of the family, and well, now it's more, let's go no-till or conservation tillage and vertical till and stuff like that. So
what your cropland that you farm, how would you describe your cropland?
How would you describe it? Probably more so kind of rolling hills.
Okay.
Clay top hills, and can go from clay to gravel knolls.
Which when it came to conserving a lot of that topsoil, this is important then.
Yeah, definitely it's important. I mean, and through the years as growing up, you see the washouts in the fields from heavy rains and stuff like that. And with planting on hills and seeding on hills, it's when you use a cover crop or some conservation tillage of any sort, it seems like you can. It's kind of a thing of a past.
Yeah.
Looking at that, so
I find this conversation interesting because I'm from south and by the gravel pits by Richmond, and we've got sand and we've got flat land, and so we go north of the freeway here, and the terrain changes, doesn't it, Dennis?
It definitely does. And the name of their farm is Hillview Dairy. And when you get into, you see a lot of hills, and it's that rolling Birch Hills, Birch Lake State Forest area there. And that was one of the reasons why the Soil Water Conservation District was so excited to have Hillview Dairy as one of our candidates and ultimately the Outstanding Conservationist Farm for the year. Was that is a very tough area to farm. And if you don't implement conservation practices, you're going to be losing that topsoil. And we got a farmer that's making it happen, his family, and it's just like, wow. Because you drive around there, as I head up through Millwood Township, there's spots where you see some crop residue management, but then you see other areas where we have opportunity for more conservation practices. And that's where I just love it when the boys go to the bar and they're sharing and spreading the word of conservation. You don't need to be doing all that tillage.
Well, is it like that?
I don't know about that.
You don't know about that. But, you can have that conversation with your peers and with your farm friends. And absolutely. I'm curious because, last May, we had the test of all tests. This was in 2022 when we had those heavy rains. And how did your farm hold up with those heavy rains last year?
I'll let Nicholas answer that one.
Go ahead, pull the mic up to you.
Yeah.
Well, the fields that we had cover crops on definitely held the soil better.
Yep.
And then all the waterways that we have definitely help to reduce the washouts and
sure, because I would imagine last year in May you had started maybe some tillage already, and when we got 5, 6, 7 inches of rain in some areas, and so cover crops. What do you put down for cover crops to kind of hold that soil?
Right now it's mostly cereal rye and then some kale mixed in it. Also do some oats and kale mix if we want it to die over winter.
Mm-hmm.
Then we don't have to spray it off in the spring at all for planting.
Sure.
The rye we chop off in the spring and then plant sorghum mid-June
Okay.
for feed for the cows.
Okay.
So what's your crop rotation? You need some different scenarios out on the farm.
For the most part, it'd be 2 years of corn, and then we plant rye in the fall, and then that next year we'd harvest rye and sorghum, and then it would be another year of corn, and then 4 years of alfalfa after that.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
If you don't mind me asking, Nicholas, how old are you?
30.
30. And Nathan, how old are you?
23.
23. So do you guys know any different? Is this kind of what you were raised already with Dad? Do you know when he was talking about moldboard plowing and stuff like that? Do you know any of that
Well, I only moldboard plowed once in my life.
in your life? Okay. Look at Dennis. He's grinning from cheek to cheek right now.
Yeah, they got rid of that plow.
So you guys were raised in an environment where you really don't know nothing from the past, a lot from the past, and maybe just stories. So it's an advantage, I think, for Nicholas and Nathan, knowing what they know now moving forward, isn't it? Just the practices, you probably accept it a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. It's a more accepted practice right now. I mean, a lot has changed. Like when you talked about a plow. I mean, we own a plow, but it's got to be 30 years ago that we've sold it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just kind of keep moving ahead with different new ideals like chisel plowing or start toying around with no-till and trying doing less tillage on the hills anyways.
Yeah.
So
So important. We're going to talk more with the Kerfelds here on Sara's Partyline. We'll get Dennis Fuchs. I don't know if Chris has said all he's going to say today or not.
I think so. He introduced himself, and he knew this was coming.
He knew the.
Yeah, I was fully prepared. I have
Okay.
my coffee with me,
Yeah.
so yes, I'm good to go. They're going to take the show, and
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
everybody
Maybe
talks.
go grab a Christmas cookie
Yeah,
or something
I'm
like
good
that.
with that.
All right.
He drove us out here.
Oh,
too,
he did.
So thanks
Okay.
for driving.
Yeah,
Chris.
thanks for driving,
Yeah,
Chris.
I'm just Dennis's chauffeur. So.
You're...
Thanks, Dennis.
We'll be back here on Sara's Partyline. It's 9:30 here on KASM. 35 degrees. I have that light mist and an occasional raindrop falling on us here in central Minnesota. Your MNN News.
Minnesota News Network, I'm Brent Palm. More homes are becoming available across the state with a 6.7% increase in new listings this year. Emily Green is president of Minnesota Realtors.
Kind of saw the full circle from the beginning of the year where the market shifted a little bit, and so it got everybody kind of regrouping, and now we're at the end of the year where it seems like people have decided that yes, they do really want to still buy a house, and there's a lot more activity that we're seeing here towards the end of the year than we normally do.
Green believes this is due to the mild winter we've been experiencing and some lower mortgage rates. The Stearns County Sheriff's Office says an Eden Valley woman missing since last summer has been located. Sheriff's deputies say 21-year-old Caitlin Holman was found safe in Minneapolis on Wednesday, thanks to help from the public. And the Minnesota Gopher men's basketball team beat Ball State 80-63 last night at Williams Arena. This is MNN.
We recently spoke with Brian Eck, Vice President of Sales at UCare, about Medicare supplement plans. Why might a consumer want to consider a Medicare supplement plan?
With a Medicare supplement, there is no provider network. Particularly for folks who live in greater Minnesota, we've seen that network limitations can be a challenge. But with a Medicare supplement plan, they can really see anyone in their area or nationwide who accepts Medicare, and they'd be covered. If they were to get sick and injured and need to see a specialist, similarly, they can go to any specialist that accepts Medicare and they'll be covered. And then lastly, if traveling and needing care, any provider who accepts Medicare anywhere in the U.S., and these plans will be traveling with you.
That's important.
For many consumers, the predictable cost and ease of use are important. Medicare supplement plans typically have higher premiums, but you'll have fewer or no out-of-pocket costs when accessing medical care. And a UCare Medicare supplement plan has some of the lowest premiums in our market.
For more information about the UCare supplement plans, go to ucare.org/supplement.
Dr. Keith Schlepper of Chiropractic Connection in St. Joseph has been treating Carla, a veteran of our armed forces, for back and neck pain, which she has had for years, since she was involved in an IED explosion in Iraq in 2007. Carla has seen great results from the treatment and care she has received from Dr. Keith Schlepper.
For a while there, the upper arm pain was so bad, I had a hard time washing my hair in the shower. And I don't notice the pain's not there. I do not wake up with pain anymore. And I know what to do when I do experience pain. He's given me the tools to be able to help control and get rid of my pain, manage my pain, which I'm just completely thankful for. I also used to take tons of acetaminophen and ibuprofen, and I haven't touched that easily in 2 months.
If living with pain is part of your daily routine, make an appointment to see Dr. Keith Schlepper of Chiropractic Connection. Call 320-363-4694 or see him online at drschlepper.com. Chiropractic Connection, connecting health with chiropractic.
We'll see cloudy skies here for today with a high in the low 40s. Winds out of the southeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, cloudy and a low near 34. Saturday, partial sunshine develops, high 46 degrees. Then on Sunday, a chance for rain, cloudy. Temperatures climb early, then slowly fall through the day. Christmas Day, Monday, a chance for rain and snow mixing at times, cloudy and breezy, a high around 37. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on AM 1150 KASM.
Thank you, Jennifer. Currently 35 degrees here at the KASM radio studios on our community technology weather station. The humidity sitting at 96% right now. The dew point is riding right with it. The dew point at 35 too, riding with that temperature. Pressure is steady at 30.15. We're getting some light winds out of the east this morning, blowing from 2 to 3 miles an hour. Let's check out our weather radar right now, and we see there is some light scattered showers that are showing up on the radar. We're seeing a movement from the west to the east, and so those showers are moving across central Minnesota as we speak. And those showers probably going to be around, looks like most part of the morning here until early afternoon when that fog is supposed to move out of the area too. Record high for this day, that's going to remain a record, and an old record, 1890, when it was 53 degrees. The record low, 20 below in 1983. Dennis Fuchs had just graduated from high school in Paynesville, and he was off in college drinking beer, and that's probably what was going on.
What year was that?
1983.
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
I was at St. Cloud State University at that time.
All right. We're going to break for markets.
Soybeans, cattle, and hogs are up. Corn is mostly lower. Hello, I'm Megan Grebner with your commodity market update on Brownfield. With more corn lines to choose from, Stein offers elite genetics with a broad range of traits. Stein has yield plus choice. Learn more at steinseed.com. Soybeans are higher on oversold signals. Beans are watching weather in South America as that wetter forecast has returned to Brazil, but it could be a week before it sets in. Soybeans are also watching transportation issues from rail and lower water levels on the Panama Canal. January beans are up 6 at 13.03 1/4. March beans up 3.5 at 13.05 1/4. Corn is mostly lower on fund and technical selling. Corn is also watching weather in South America. Those early weather challenges in Brazil could reduce Brazil's second crop corn. Corn is pressured by the ongoing transportation woes, the closure of the 2 rail lines going into Mexico as grain exports being blocked from 6 Midwestern states. March corn's up 1/2 at 4.73. May corn down 1/4 at 4.85. The wheat complex is mostly higher. The lower dollar helps provide some support for U.S. wheat. Russia continues to be the biggest bearish influence on the wheat market. In Chicago, March wheat up 3/4 at 6.13 1/4. May wheat up 1 3/4 at 6.25 3/4. March wheat in Kansas City is up 1 3/4 at 6.28 1/2. And in Minneapolis, March wheat's up 3/4 at 7.15. Live and feeder cattle are up ahead of today's on-feed numbers, finding a little support from the stronger cash business this week as well. February lives up 7 at 168.75. April lives up a nickel at 172.22. January feeders up 65 at 222.35. Hogs are up following a solid export sales report on Thursday and ahead of today's quarterly hogs and pigs report. February lean hogs up 90 at 71.55. April lean hogs up 97 at 77.92. For the latest in market news, go to brownfieldagnews.com. I'm Megan Grebner for Brownfield.
The first 3 years of every child's life are critical. Learn more about early intervention. How your baby or toddler plays, learns, talks, acts, and moves give important clues as to how they are developing. If you have any questions or concerns about whether your baby or toddler's development is on track, please call 1-800-515-BABY. That's 1-800-515-2229. Call 1-800-515-BABY. That's 1-800-515-2229.
I see you finally got a new helmet.
I did. Bought it cheap online. Follow me. We'll turn off here.
I'm right behind you.
Watch the cars. They can be crazy.
Teddy! No! Are you okay? Somebody do something!
Was this young man hit by a car?
Yes, and his helmet is smashed. It's a brand new helmet.
It's probably a fake. Fakes cause real harm. You're smart. Buy smart. Brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council and the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
There you go, your markets from Brownfield here on KASM Radio. It's on Sarah's Party Line this morning. Randy Rothstein in for Kirby Hemish on Sarah's Party Line, brought to you by Wimmer Opticians in St. Cloud and Chiropractic Connection in St. Joseph. In studio with us this morning, Dennis Fuchs, Chris Hogge from the the Soil and Water Conservation District office. There you go. You know, I get you so confused with the Sauk River Watershed District.
We are going to be celebrating 75 years next year.
Ooh!
And we're going to be working on rebranding our logo and ourselves, and we reviewed our mission statement and also our name, Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Nice.
And the board approved modifying our name to Stearns Conservation District.
There you go.
So we are going to be changing it to that in 2024 and doing all the legal
Yeah,
changes right
yeah,
now. So
yeah.
listeners will
little
have
simpler,
less
yeah.
mouthful to say.
Right. Dennis and Chris have invited the Kerfelds into the studio this morning. They're the Stearns County outstanding conservationists. That's Hillview Dairy, Tim Kerfeld, along with his sons, Nathan and Nicholas, in studio this morning. And Tim, just a little background on your family and the farming that's gone on in the Kerfeld neighborhood. Mom and Dad, obviously, a big influence on you, right?
Yeah. I guess Kerfeld Hillview Farms, was all started from my parents, Art and Rosie. Bought the farm in the early '60s and kind of grew from there. Started milking cows in '74, and I got on board, and I was the third of 8 children, and got on board in '91, and just kind of took over the farm from there gradually, and then now we're operating with our kids. We got our four boys, and we got a daughter that started dairy farming too this past year. We milk about 300 head of cows on 4 robots, on a freestyle barn, and farm about maybe 550, 600 acres, something like that.
Is it entirely a family operation? Do you employ others?
It's pretty much all family ran. We do have 3 other high school age kids that help us just after school and whenever needed. Okay.
So with Nathan and Nicholas here today, their roles in the farming operation, because I'm sure everybody's got their special areas. And let's start with you, Nicholas, because you're closest to the mic. And what's your role at Hillview Dairy?
I do the majority of the feeding in the morning, and then we all take turns at night being in the barn. And then I do majority of the crop planting and seed selection and stuff like that.
So you said you're 30 years old, so you did go to school?
Yep. Went to Ridgewater for farm management.
Okay.
With crop and GPS emphasis.
Was that at the urging of Mom and Dad? Did they want you to get away and do some of that stuff too? Or was that more you to get away?
No, Mom and Dad wanted me to get away.
But obviously, in the back of your mind, you always wanted to come back and farm, I bet.
Yeah. Yep. No, I always enjoyed being outside, driving tractors and being around the farm and stuff like that.
Sure. Yep. Nathan, what's your role at Hillview Dairy?
Right now I raise the calves, and I look over the heifers and the stuff that needs to be done on the heifers, and then also we raise about 100 steers that I also keep track of.
So when Tim said you milk 300, that's the calves and the heifers and the steers are in addition to those 300.
Yep.
Wow. That takes a lot of feed to feed them and a lot of land to grow crops, doesn't it?
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. It's quite a story. And schooling for you?
I also went to Ridgewater for GPS or ag technology. And yeah.
So that means that you're encouraging the family operation to buy these tractors that it's pretty much touch control, right?
Yep.
Do you have some equipment that is GPS?
Yeah, we do utilize a lot of technology, precision planning, and soil sampling, yield maps.
Okay. All right.
I got to share this.
You know, it's so big. I mean, from when I farmed to what these guys are talking about, it's crazy that it's being used on farms nowadays, but it is.
Yes, that technology. I wish I would have had that when I was growing up on the farm, especially that steering control.
Yeah.
My dad provided some career advice after I hit the third building with a piece of farm equipment and dented another shed. He asked me if I have ever thought about going to college. And that really helped me with my career choices after that.
And my dad provided me with some advice too. There's another rock over there, and there's another rock over there.
That advice still continues.
It still continues. Okay. So there are some areas of the field where you have to hand pick yet. You can take the skid loader and run over it.
Still hand picking.
There is. Okay.
Yeah, there are rocks out in that area of the county.
Is it just that soil that's where rocks are and that type of soil?
Yeah, everybody claims they have more rocks than the next person, right? But we have our share.
But probably a lot less that now that you got rid of the moldboard plow. You're not turning them up, accelerating the rock picking by tillage.
If you guys want to just describe what's like tillage look like on your field, say now the fall, you've taken your corn crop off the field. What does tillage look like for you guys going into the spring? How many times do you go over it?
Depending on the field, some fields we won't go over at all. The next will be chisel plowed and then soil finished in the spring. And then some fields will just be one pass with the vertical till or two passes with the vertical till. Yep.
And describe for the listener out there, what's a vertical till? What is that?
Basically,
compared to let's say a spring tooth from back in the day or something like that.
I don't think they know what a spring tooth is.
A field cultivator.
A field cultivator or disc or yeah.
It's basically a high speed disc with wavy disc halters on it that help lift the soil rather than pull it to the side.
Okay. So
I guess that'd be the
kind of a definition of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we employ all different types of tillage, really. I mean, whatever. We're trying to get more and more involved with the no-till and more and more cover crops, but it's a learning process. It's not something you can just flick a switch like going from a mobile plow to a chisel plow. You made your decision and it's done. With conservation stuff like that, it doesn't go that easy. At least for me, it hasn't been going as easy as. Like in the fall, I said, well, we're going to chisel plow this field. And then the boy said, no, we're not. We're going to just run a no-till drill over it and see some Ryan and call it good.
Okay. Yeah.
So, it's kind of different on our farm. It's if you see the big hills on it, we'll definitely get some cover crop in there, hold the soil in place, try to keep as much trash on top of the ground as we can. And wherever we can, we'll no-till something in.
And then those areas, I mean, so you make a decision what to do with that land as far as tilling. Those areas then, do you track what you're getting for production on those areas then? Is that something you do too then?
Yeah, that's all. There's a yield monitor on the chopper and the combine, and that's all tracked and compared to seed and fertilizer and manure and no-till versus tillage. That's all tracked.
That is exciting stuff.
I was
Chris.
curious, could you expand on the discussion of putting cover crops and doing tillage, how does that discussion go between Tim, you and your sons? What's kind of the deciding factor when that discussion kind of comes about? Is it the soil health, or is it this erosion, or is it just trying something new? So just kind of expand on that.
I guess it all kind of depends on the fall we get. You get like 2019 where it was really wet in the fall, and we had to go on the field and get the crop off, especially chopping corn sides. You can't just wait for the stuff to dry out. Then you have a dry crop. You don't get any milk out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of gotta have to make a decision as you go. But a normal year, we'll look at the field and say, hey, this is a high erosion field. Let's throw a cover crop in this, or if there's a chance of doing no-till, and if it was a hay field that we're gonna, if it's time for that to go into corn, it's all petered out or whatever, we'll make the decision that say, okay, we're gonna put a little bit of manure on top of this, and then hold it till spring, and then no-till right into that, that ground.
Yeah.
Try not to work that ground up to make it loose, so that you get the spring rains and the fall rains come and wash it away. And then we'll take other fields where we have to get rid of manure. I mean, dairy, you always have manure on hand. You're always trying to get that out in the field. So if we have some pen packs that we have to get rid of, there may be a field here that we will chisel plow or put it on, chisel plow it in lightly, and then and try leaving it there like that. And then there'll be some fields, and more fields are like this. We're putting manure on and then chasing over the top with a vertical till and not disturbing the soil that much, but kind of pinning that manure and the trash down into the ground so it decays a little bit more.
Right. On average, how much of your cropland do you no-till?
I would say probably a quarter to a third of it on a yearly basis.
On a yearly basis, and it's not the same fields every year that you no-till?
There's a couple fields that we try and do repetitively because they're major hills.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's kind of a case-by-case basis. On if it's a wet year and compaction, well, then chances are it will get tilled or cover crop. But yeah, a lot of it's case-by-case. That's kind of what makes it difficult on planning. But, ordering seed or whatnot. But.
Okay. Chris?
Do you see a significant difference in the fields that you do no-till and the fields that you do tillage on? Do you see a significant changes in yields or anything like that?
Nothing major. I mean, no-till is usually slightly lower in yield, unless you have a drought year. Then, like this year, then our no-till fields did better because there's more water in the soil.
Sure.
So it's no-till's usually less yield, but you also have less inputs.
Yeah.
Because you don't have those extra passes of tillage. So.
When you transition from 4 years of alfalfa into corn, I think that's what you said the crop rotation was. What kind of tillage do you do when you're going from alfalfa to corn?
That's field dependent also, but usually no-till or vertical till. This year we'll have a little bit of everything.
I hope the listeners heard that. No-till into alfalfa. There's a lot of soil health principles after not touching that for 4 years and having a perennial crop out there where that soil health has really improved.
Well, I'm the old school again, and I'm going compaction, soil compaction. Wouldn't you think there's soil compaction on a 4-year-old alfalfa crop? And how am I going to get those roots to go down and get the moisture?
That's what a lot of folks are worried about. And this is a great opportunity for our conservationists to answer this question.
That's good.
Well, if it's a wet year, you don't have the issues as much because the rain keeps it soft. Where this past year when it was dry, then you definitely notice the compaction.
Sure.
Especially in the top 4-6 inches. Once you're past that, then you don't notice it as much.
Okay.
But, I don't know if you'd ever.
Yeah, it's really weather dependent on it. I mean, you talk about trying to get roots down, right? If you start getting some of these cover crops in there, those roots are going down. It's a real fibrous root, and it's breaking up the soil that you can't see.
Sure.
As it goes down. So yeah, it's kind of hard to look at that part of it. I think the biggest challenge with trying to no-till something is, people ask us, even at the convention we were at, sat down next to the guy that was doing strip till, and which seems to be a pretty good practice too, and he was converting to no-till, and he had asked me what's the biggest. His wife actually asked what was the biggest thing we challenged with. I told him patience. You go on the springtime and it bugs you a lot that other neighbors are on the field tilling ground up because the ground is black. It warms up faster. No-till is you got a lot of cover over the top that keeps it kind of cold, and every year we learn patience. It takes a lot of time.
You bet, yeah. And so, from Dennis and from Chris, what have you guys learned? Has it been for you, Tim, probably 10, 15 years of talking to these guys and implementing what they've said and they've taught you into your farming practice? Has that been that kind of process?
Yeah, it takes time. I mean, and a lot of it's, whether it's listening to these guys or seeing what kind of programs are out there on conservation stuff, and then reading magazines.
Mm-hmm.
What can be done to your farm that other people have done to their farms, And you kind of take it by farm and see if it makes sense for you. If it makes sense, try it.
Sure. So you have the dairy cattle. Nathan, you talked about the calves and the heifers and the steers. So you're looking for optimum feed quality too for these animals. And in a farming practice like that, are you constantly doing testing of the crops to see where they're at before you harvest? Or what's that process? With corn silage, probably. Right?
Well, corn silage, the haylage itself, we're kind of watching the stage of maturity there, and kind of watching the weather too. As soon as the first crop, as soon as you see a window that you can take it, it may not be the quality that you want, but you better take it while you have the chance to. Usually when the rains come, spring rains. Then after that, it's pretty much on a 28, 30-day schedule for hay.
Mm-hmm.
Corn silage. We start talking to neighbors, and we do custom work too. So we get to talk to a bunch of other people that we're doing work for, and see where the maturity range is on the corn silage coming up, and then we can kind of start scheduling our harvest in with other people's harvest too.
Sure. And I would imagine with the rolling hills, the crop, maybe the maturity of it might differ a little bit over the hills, or is that kind of with the conservation trying to keep everything consistent? Does that occur?
Yeah, this year is tough though. Dry year. Yeah, we had hilltops that looked like, it's done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you get the lowest spots, so it makes it a little more challenging trying to feed that crop as we go through the forage and that stored stuff. So, but we try keeping as good as we can.
Do you harvest any of your cover crops, or are they mainly there as a cover?
The only thing that we do harvest would be the cereal rye. We harvest that for heifer feed the following year, and then plant sorghum. And then the sorghum kind of acts as a cover crop for the next year because it grows back after we cut it.
Yep.
We only cut that once, and then it dies off once it freezes.
You get pretty good tonnage with the...
Yeah, we get... on the rye, we'll get anywhere from 3 to 6 ton an acre of wet feed, and then the sorghum is anywhere from... The best we've got was 18 ton an acre, so almost as good as corn silage. Otherwise, it's 10 to 15 ton an acre.
Yeah, that's great.
So I got to ask them your pipe dream, because you're doing what you're doing right now, and again, I guess within your budgets and everything, operating a farm. Is there a pipe dream for you? What would you guys like to do on your farm? Maybe Nathan and Nicholas, this is your time, your Christmas wish for Dad and the whole Hillview Dairy. What would you like to see happen on your farm?
Maybe see Dad step back a little bit.
Is there some things that you're seeing maybe your peers out there doing that you'd like to implement? Can't think of it.
I guess most of it's just we'll keep on going how we are, and as stuff comes out, we'll try throwing it into our practices. If it works, it works. We'll just keep on doing trial and errors and keep on pushing towards the future, really, with it.
One thing, you guys are not afraid of new technology, though. I can see that you'll try it at least, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Well, congratulations again on your award this year in Stearns County. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just want to mention that the Hillview Dairy will also be recognized at our upcoming Stearns County Pheasants Forever chapter banquet. That'll be March 9th, a Saturday, and that'll be at the Park Event Center in Wade Park. And it's a great opportunity for listeners that would like to come and visit with the outstanding conservationists, the Kerfelds, a little bit more about their operation, have a beer, and generate some money for wildlife habitat at the same time. It's a fun evening, and we're looking forward to having the Kerfelds there. And we got just a minute here. I do want to mention that Hillview Dairy also participated in the Headwaters of Ag Sustainability Partnership project on return on investment. We looked at 3 dairy farms originally, and now we're up to 10 dairy farms. We're expanding this further. And we looked at the return on investment on these farmers that are implementing a lot of conservation practices versus some folks that are not implementing as many conservation practices. And what the report shows is that the farmers that are implementing more conservation practices have a greater return on investment. So maybe they don't have the highest yields, but ultimately that's not what pays the bills. It's the return on investment. And we're hoping that we can share this report with more and more folks that encourages them to implement more conservation practices like the Kerfelds, Hillview Farms. And just want to thank Tim, Nathan, and Nicholas for all of your work, and really appreciate what you've done in a tough part of the county, with those rolling hills, highly erodible land, and conserving our soils and protecting our downstream resources. Just fantastic work out there. And also, they worked with our office for some technical and financial assistance and discovered what it takes to get it done and are moving forward without assistance now, and hopefully sharing that with your neighbors, and really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, Tim and Nathan and Nicholas, your farm is located over in the St. Rose area?
Yeah, we're 2 miles northeast or northwest of St. Rose, right on Stearns County 17.
Okay. And I would say that you'd be open if any of your farming peers want to maybe take a look at your operation and gain some insight.
Yeah, if anytime anybody wants to talk about it, any of us are available. Pretty much, you can Google anybody up and Facebook them or whatever and find them. But yeah, we're open for anybody that wants to learn anything, or if we can learn from them too.
That's awesome. Chris?
I just wanted to say, for all the producers that were listening to the Kerfelds talk, that they went through a lot of experimenting and practicing and putting things into the field, and kind of goes along with what I've said to everybody in the past. You don't have to do the whole field. You don't have to do the whole farm when you're doing conservation. Sometimes it's just that back field that's away from the road that no one else can see is the place that you want to check and see if it works out in your farming operation. And it appears that the Kerfelds have kind of done that. Granted, they have a few more hills than some of us do, but it's something that it's not required to do a whole field. Sometimes it's just part of a field, 10 acres, 20 acres, and experiment, see if it works.
Yes.
Very well said. Very well said. Merry Christmas to each and every one of you.
Yeah.
Tim.
Thank you, Randy.
Nathan, Nicholas,
Thank you,
Chris,
Randy.
and Dennis, thank you for stopping by on Sirs